Hey everyone, welcome back to my video series, Building an iOS App with AI in 14 Days. I'm Connor, an iOS developer, and I'm walking you through my method of building an iOS app strictly with AI in just 14 days. This roadmap is something you can follow even if you have zero prior coding experience. The app we're building for this series is an app called Whisper. It's a on-device private journaling app that is solving the core problem that most journaling apps have, which is people quit journaling apps because they're too slow and require too much focus. Whisper app makes emotional check-ins so fast and flexible that the habit actually sticks. This week, we've found an idea for an app. We've planned out the app. We've designed it with AI. We've built our core features. Yesterday, we added onboarding to our app, and today we are focused on building out our paywall. So this is a quick demo of Whisper. This is our journal screen. You can tap here to record an entry or choose to type something. We can say, I'm feeling happy. And then we use Apple's on-device AI to interpret that journal entry, and it will help pick a mood for us. Then we have the option to change. We can save this. We have a calendar to see our overview of how our moods are doing. These little dot indicators reflect the mood that we felt each day. And then we have a streak screen to help actually build the journaling habit. This is our onboarding. So when you first download the app, this is what the users will see. It just gives a quick overview of what the goal is of this app. We can get started, give some information that we're not really doing anything with yet about the mood. We are going to allow microphone permissions. This is a demo. You hit allow and allow. That should actually happen on the previous screen, but we can fix that later. This is the test of a journal entry. It's going to transcribe it for us. We're going to hit continue, feeling happy. And then this is our current paywall that AI designed for us. Today, we're focused on improving this paywall and actually getting it working. So to start, we're going to be in Perplexity to do some research on what makes a great paywall for an iOS app. So the prompt we're going to use for that is I want you to do some research on what makes a great paywall for an iOS app in 2025. I want you to condense your research into an instructions document for an AI coding tool on detailing how to build a great paywall. Do not include code or technical instructions, but focus on core elements, copy, pricing strategies, etc. That way we can give our coding tool that we're using, Codex, for worrying about the technical aspect of things, but this gives it the context that it needs on how to build a really good paywall. So it's going to go out and do some research for us. And then once that's done, we're going to take that document over to Codex and have it build something for us. Okay, so now that Perplexity is done researching on what the key elements of a great paywall are, we can go ahead and review this quickly. But the main thing that we're worried about is the instructions, which it didn't seem to compile a document like it has in previous days. So I'm just going to ask it to do that for us really quick. Okay, so our prompt is to create a great document of instructions on how to create a great paywall. Based on this research, exclude instructions about social proof. Social proof is a really key element of a paywall, but we're ignoring that for the purposes of this video because we do not have social proof yet for our app. So it doesn't make sense to put lies into our paywall. One really great way to get social proof for your app is to have people beta test it and demo it and ask them for testimonials about the product. And then you can use those in your paywall, but we're not doing that for the scope of this series. So we're just going to leave the social proof out. You don't need it, but it does really help. Okay, so it didn't give us in the document the format that I was expecting, but that's okay. I didn't really specify either. So I'm just going to copy this, look at it really quickly, and call that good. So now we're going to go to Codex. We're going to paste that in. We're going to write a prompt in order to have Codex improve the paywall that we have in our app. Okay, so we pasted that in, and we're going to ask Codex to create a paywall based on that guide. We're going to leverage our existing design system that we've already established in the app so it looks the right way. Help us decide on the paid versus free features based on what features already exist in the app, because we don't want to add more features to the app right now. And I want it to ask me questions instead of making assumptions. So I'm going to send this off to do some work. It's going to read it for us really quick, and then it's probably going to come back with a list of questions and suggestions before it actually gets building. So Codex has given us some suggestions on how to improve our paywall. So let's review and decide what we want and don't want. It said to lead with outcome-driven hero copy and brand-aligned gradient so the value prop lands within seconds. Replace generic bullets with a benefit stack tied to actual starter limits, unlimited entries, full calendar history, streak growth, and richer stats communicating transformation over features. 3-plan comparison that surface starter alongside pro, monthly, and pro annual. Highlight the annual tier as most popular and reflects the selected plan in the call to action. Added a compliance block covering billing terms, auto renewal, and then our starter plan is going to be 10 entries with 7 days in the calendar and streaks locked at day 7, matching the existing dating helpers. And then the pro plan will remove the entry cap, unlock full calendar history, keep streaks and milestones tracking open-ended, and let stats reflect the entire journal, now explicitly promised in the paywall benefits and pay copy plan. Okay. Next steps, wire selected plan ID through on primary to StoreKit and add the required US external payment link once. Okay. Did it already update for us? Let's see. Okay, so back to onboarding. Yes, this is the paywall, which is cool, but it needs to fit on one screen. So let's tell it that. Paywall looks good, but we need it to fit on one screen without the need for the user to scroll to see plans. Also, the plan option cards are too cluttered and have overlap elements, right? Because see this pro plan, like this covers the 9 there, same there. We can't even select the starter plan. We should be able to select the starter plan. Okay, so I'm gonna have it rebuild that. Okay, so I'm gonna have it rebuild the paywall in a way that we can actually see it on one screen. That's one thing that you would want to spend some extra time prompting, right? Because it obviously made a great paywall and followed all the instructions that we gave it of what makes a great paywall, but it didn't take into account like good user design and experience and best practices and keeping things simple. And the other really good thing to do is to go and find paywalls that you like and that are already proven and doing well and use that as image references, and then talk it through with ChatGPT or Codex and say, let's make a plan and design this paywall before we get into building it. For simplicity's sake, we're just having it design as we code. But you could also go back to our design chat and say, let's see some mockups of a paywall and give it the instructions on what makes a good paywall and all these things to be more iterative and careful about this. So it says it's done now. Let's run our app and see what changed. So we're going to go through here. It just took away the scrolling, but didn't actually make it so everything fit on this. So we're going to want to tell it to fix that. Okay, so we've got some corrections on the side of Codex saying, I put a screenshot of the paywall, and we need to improve this so it doesn't look like the wrong size. The title's cut off, the pro annual plan title is truncated, and I can't scroll to see the terms. So what I want to do is I'm on Mob, and I just want to give it some examples of a good paywall. Like this gentler streak one is great. So I'm going to copy that and paste it into Codex. Control V for that image is a good example, or something like this is another great example. Here are 2 good paywall examples. Okay, so I'm going to give it that context so it has a better understanding of what we are wanting here, and then see how it changes based on those improvements. So now it's reworked our paywall. So I'm going to ask it to get a preview up and running. Can you create a working preview for me for this paywall? That way we don't have to rerun every time it makes changes. We can just see them actually in the app or inside of Xcode to see its work. So it'll be a little bit faster for us. So now we can just run this, see what it's looking like. Okay, so here's our paywall. We're still struggling with the sizing thing. So I'm going to say, let's keep this part, but let's greatly improve the plan options because they're taking up way too much space. Let's just find a better solution for the plan options because they take up way too much space vertically. So the cool thing about previews too is that as it's working, we can see its work take place in real time once we get compiled code that will actually build. This is like getting better, but it's not really going in the direction that we want. Everything about this is like a good paywall, except for these cards here. So maybe let's give it some suggestions based on the screenshots we saw earlier. Okay, so the suggestions that I'm making, I said, what if we create squarish cards for the plan options and stack them horizontally? We don't need the default text in these. Let's offload that to the hero section, maybe with a dynamic text option. Just communicate clearly the discount of the annual plan and change the monthly plan to a weekly one. Weekly does not get a free trial. So this is a paywall strategy I've seen be very successful in the indie app community lately. So I'm just going to take my knowledge and experience and put that into this prompt so that it is applied to our paywall and Codex knows that's what we want. Because this is a typical way of handling this, but there's newer strategies for paywalls that are doing really well and helping apps make more money. And that's our ultimate goal of building an app, right? Is to make money besides just building a cool thing. So let's see what it does with that information. The other thing we can and probably should do here is not have the starter plan as one of these options, but just keep it as the default, right? So when they hit maybe later, that will be the starter plan. It's going to convert better if we don't give like necessarily a free option as one of those options, but we'll see how this design looks once it's done adding it to our code. Okay, so now it's done working on that, and this is looking better, but we don't want our start free trial button all the way down there. So let's go back to our Moblin examples and figure out how we actually want to display our plans. In these options, there's just 2 plans displayed. I guess in this one, there's 3. There's a lifetime one, but this one, there's just 2, which looks better because it all fits on one screen. So I'm going to copy this again and say we should do something like this in Codex. It will be, we should follow this design a little closer for the plan options. Let's not show the free plan as an option here. Instead, let's make it a tertiary underlined button below the start free 7-day trial button. Okay, so we're going to give it those instructions and see if it can figure this out a little bit better. Because this is the part, right, where it's worth doing some research. It's worth deciding on what you want to do, what a good paywall looks like, and being very specific with your prompt. Right here, we've been pretty vague for the most part in general, and we can see that over a few iterations, it's just not quite getting it. Like this is still too tall. This extra text has pushed down everything, so it doesn't all fit on one screen without scrolling. This is just not going to be a paywall that converts very well because it's too confusing and too much work. Codex is done making those changes, and here's how it's looking. It's still not quite what we want, but it's really close. So I think we should go ahead and just make some changes here because this is taking a really long time to iterate on. So we want to get rid of this text there because that's just taking up extra space. And then the next thing that we want to change are the size of these plan options. And so we're going to go to the plan options here, the plan option card, and we are going to first reduce the padding on this because they're just too spaced out. And then the text on some of these are really long. Like we don't need that. We can just say build yearly after free trial. And then this is just going to be build weekly. And then what else is that one looking like? See, things are a lot closer together. So we want to find the pricing. The spacing here is 12. This can be easily 8. And then what else can we change to condense this? Actually, let's see. We're going to put a vertical stack here. Price, spacing, it's going to be close together like that. I'm happy with that. Okay. So we're starting to make some changes on these, and these are something you can do to prompt, but it's just taking kind of a long time to code. So I'm just going to go and do these manually, but these are just the changes that I would make to condense the sizing down of these cards so this all fits on one screen. Now we kind of want to get rid of some of the height on this, which I may just ask AI to do instead of pouring through this code. And then we want the weekly plan to look the same. Let's see, the key differences here are just the alignment. We want to figure out why these aren't matching after we've made some manual changes. So we're going to give a prompt to Codex of the exact changes that we want here. Let's make the plan option card smaller. Let's make it so the weekly plan has the same text styling as the yearly plan option, and the text should be left aligned. Spacing between the text should be tightened up, less vertical padding on both cards, and let's reduce the amount of text below the plan options. We just want to condense this, right? Like it's trying to make this readable and it's trying to make it look good, but it's just taking up way too much space, and we can tighten this a lot without ruining kind of the visual appeal of it. Okay, so it tightened this up for us and it is a lot better, but there's still room for improvement. For example, there's a lot of space up here that we could take advantage of and not waste so much of it. So if we make this like 18 or 16 even, actually 20 is probably the sweet spot there. In the header section, we've got a lot of extra space top, so we could probably reduce this to, so it's still readable, but there's not too much wasted space. The benefit row is fine. Padding on the top, let's see. Let's just see what happens if we just did some top padding. There we go. That's looking better because we don't need all that extra space up there. And then the rest is fine if they scroll. Perfect. Totally happy with that. That looks like a pretty good paywall. Now they can choose what they want. They can choose to stay on the free. We'll start a free trial and we're good to go. So now we've got a pretty solid paywall for our app. Now we just want to make sure this same paywall is used everywhere in the app. Let's ensure this same paywall is used everywhere a paywall should be displayed in our app, not just on onboarding. Okay, so now it's going to go make the changes because it had created a paywall earlier that we saw on the main home screen of the app, but we want to make sure we are just using this one because this file is called the onboarding paywall view. I want to make sure that we don't just see this paywall on onboarding. We want to see this every time we present our paywall. Codex is telling me it's done. It did code for about 20 minutes. It had a couple errors, so I just threw a screenshot in how to fix those. And now we are going to run the app and see if our paywall is properly implemented throughout the app. So we'll do onboarding first. We can kind of just get through these. Perfect. Okay, then we go our paywall, which it seems to have added that spacing up there again. So we're going to want to go fix that really quick. Header section, let's see where that's coming from. This here, which we don't want. Space this really weird. Rerun it just to make sure it looks good when we actually run the app, besides just in the previews, because you should always test in the app as well. As the previews are great for iterations, but you actually do want to test at least on the simulator and on the device if you can before actually shipping your app. Perfect. We're going to stay on free. It's going to do our little tooltip thing that it built for us. Upgrade to review all our entries. So it should show a paywall there. Basically, it's done a good job at creating the paywall, but now we want to make sure we actually decide when to present it. So we're going to compact this and do a new prompt. So let's create a plan for all the spots in the app we should present the paywall. For example, if a free user tries to tap on a calendar day that requires the pro plan. Okay, so we're going to ask it to help us create a plan of when we should present this, and then once it has a plan that we approve of, we'll go ahead and implement that. So think about this, right? Your potential users have seen the onboarding and they decided they just wanted to stay in the free plan. So when do we want to remind them that it's a good idea to upgrade for our app? One of the use cases is when we hit 10 entries, right? We do have a banner here. Once we hit 8, hey, you're going to run out soon. You should upgrade. And then the other thing in our paid plan is they can only have 7 days of history. So right here, where it says upgrade to review older entries, we really just want to probably show them the paywall there. And when they hit a 7-day streak, we're going to want to make sure that they're presented with the paywall. And so it's going to scan the app and trying to decide when this should be presented, and then we'll get to working on that. So this is all the ideas let's come up with to present our paywall. On the onboarding finale, keep the paywall as the last step. Entry creation hard gate. And when a user starts tap record after reaching 10 entries, we'll send them through paywall, and then entry creation soft gate call to action, keep the banner in place, and then the calendar locked history, replace the current toast only response for the paywall, streak lock nudges, and then global upgrade access. Centralize any future upgrade buttons. Okay, this sounds great. Let's implement. So we're going to let that work on implementing the paywall, and then we'll wrap up for today. Tomorrow, we will work on actually connecting our paywall to be able to receive payments. That step is a little bit more involved. And so for sake of brevity, I just wanted to show you going through actually building the paywall and designing. And tomorrow we'll worry about connecting it and actually setting up our app to receive payments so that we can make money with this once it's released on the App Store. Okay, now that is done, let's go ahead and run the app one more time for today to make sure that it worked and that there's no errors, and then we can wrap up. We're tapping past 7 days and just brings us straight to the paywall. But if I tap within the 7-day limit, then we just get the default behavior. Perfect. This is exactly what we want. Now we have a few places in our app that the paywall will present. Earlier in the series, we saw the banner appear here when they're running out of entries, and it should present once we hit 8. We can test that later, but for now we have a good idea of when our paywall is presenting, how it looks, and how it functions, and we'll get working on connecting that tomorrow. If you're interested in learning how to build apps with AI more in depth and the exact prompts and workflows that I use on a day-to-day basis, you should check out my community App Launch Club. It is a community of app builders where I'm using my 5 years of iOS experience to help people build apps and get them out the door. We have an app launch roadmap to get you from idea to app in 14 days, with more resources coming soon, helping you with all the tools that you need to be a successful indie app developer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.